Vic in a whole world of hurt. They get farmed all the way down. The opponent brings in Mantine. They might be expecting an all-fire moveset, while surprise motherfucker eats Solar Beam. So, welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. Today is a day that I've been looking forward to all week because my good friend Rodrigo has submitted some really fun battles where we are running double fire, double solar beam. Need I say any more? Well, if that's not enough, we see the return of the GOAT Shadow Swampert in the lead in an ABB team, and you already know that some things are going to get absolutely nuked. So without any further ado, let's jump into the battles. And in game 1, we see the most basic bitch Pokemon of them all, Metachan, in the lead. 2 Hydro Cannons from a Shadow Swampert will knock this thing out. They might think they're bulky, but Shadow Swampert doesn't give a fuck. We look to catch a potential Ice Punch on Ninetales, and we are unsuccessful. The opponent now fires off a charge move. They throw their Psychic. Ninetales tanks it like an absolute boss. The opponent now switches out into Galvantula. A very questionable play. This first Weather Ball is going to draw a shield. One more Fire Spin and we're at Weather Ball. Number 2, is the opponent willing to double shield through this matchup? Yes, they are. The opponent is now all shields down. Rodrigo sat at a 2-0 shield advantage. We bring back out Swampert. Rodrigo commits his first shield. We can overfarm just a touch, but Rodrigo decides he is going to spam out the Hydro Cannon just to knock this spider out. Down goes Gal. But what is the opponent's final Pokemon? We're spamming out into Typhlosion, and holy smokes, it's knocked out in the back. The opponent is going to look to catch Rodrigo. Far too smart. Bring back that knockdown. Knockdown, super bulky. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You, sir, are not bulky enough, and that is all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. The GOAT picks up a great lead. We catch the Bear Trap in the lead. The opponent makes an immediate pivot into Frostlass, and Ninetales is there to meet it. We go straight for the Weather Ball. The opponent commits a shield. Mr. Opponent, you, sir, will not be winning switch. We can even tank a Shadow Ball from this range. Rodrigo instantly clicks the no shield, and the opponent thinks they are a master baiter, but Rodrigo shows you that master baiting is not very good for your health, and I'll tell you exactly why, because the opponent commits a shield and still get absolutely fucked attempting to win switch advantage. The opponent's final Pokemon is a Azumarill. Rodrigo falls just short of the beams. We are going to settle for some chip damage. This should now put the Azumarill into Sludge Wave range. The opponent is going to fire a charge move. Rodrigo commits his first Protect Shield, and they go for a very annoying Ice Beam bait. Azumarill is now going to outpace by a turn to the Play Rough Swampert. Not the bulkiest, but we do tank the Play Rough not particularly well. We are now left at around 25% HP. Rodrigo fires one Mud Shot and the Sludge Wave, and we are now spamming out into Typhlosion. The Bear Trap has absolutely nowhere to run. We make the Blast Burn. This will absolutely be drawing the last shield from the opponent. The Bear Trap is going to have to fire off a move. If I was Rodrigo, I would commit no shield here, and that is exactly the play that he does. We can just come in with Swampert. The opponent isn't going to be able to Mud Shot down, so we can shield up whatever they throw. It's just going to be a Rock Slide, but Swampert has the move locked and loaded. It's going to be high Bear Trap by Bear Trap. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next one, we see that pesky spider in the lead. Galvantula is rising in popularity due to the amount of Pelipper and Knockdown that are absolutely littering the meta. The opponent strikes first with a lunge. Swampert tanks it not particularly well. We are going to return fire with a Hydro Cannon. The opponent does oblige with a shield. It's now a simultaneous swap. Ninetales into Sableye. The opponent throws an absolutely terrible timing. Rodrigo sneaks an entire Fire Spin. That is going to allow Ninetales to win the 0 shield. We fire off the first Weather Ball. Does the opponent want to commit their final shield? They do not. Ninetales on very minimal HP makes Weather Ball number 2, and the opponent does lose the 0 shield. Ninetales is going to get farmed down by something, and the opponent's final Pokemon is Dunsparce. Absolutely everything that Dunsparce is throwing. Rollout, Rock Slide and Drill Run is going to hit Typlosion for super effective, but Rodrigo has 2 Protect Shields to hide behind. We are going to shield up the Rock Slide. Rodrigo is farming up. The opponent throws again at poor timing. Rodrigo now absolutely loaded. The opponent fires off the Rock Slide once again, and we are going to start spamming out Blast Burns. First Blast Burn draws the opponent's final Protect Shield. We look to make a catch. The opponent doesn't throw back out. Comes Galvantula. This Hydro Cannon is going to take care of the spider. The opponent can try and farm down if they like. They did not. But either way, we have the charge move locked and loaded, and it's going to be no doubt who wins CMP. Typhlosion comes back in, and Blast Burn is going to absolutely obliterate whatever Dunsparce is supposed to be. Some kind of bug, I think. But either way, GG's, and thanks for playing. We see Shadow Vic in the lead in the next battle. Swampert's worst nightmare. We pivot into Ninetales. The opponent answers with Lantern. Rodrigo shows no respect to the Surf. Buckle up, everybody, because there's no baiting on this channel. Rodrigo on low HP reaches for the beam, does the opponent. Respect the damage. They do not get absolutely fucking wrecked. As if eating a solar beam to the face wasn't bad enough, we've got Typlosion waiting for this victory bell. The opponent is going to fire off a resisted leaf blade, but Typlosion is super squishy. We managed to farm all the way down, and the opponent's final Pokemon is the Bear Trap. We're at the first Blast Burn. The opponent lets it go, probably reconsidering their life choices, and that is all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. We now see the battle of the goats. The goat obviously is Shadow Swampert. Zonic says Marowak is the GOAT. Let's see who prevails in this battle. The opponent pivots into a Swampert, and we don't really have a response for this other than our own Swampert. So Rodrigo is choosing to stay in. We are going to be spamming out Hydro Cannon. The opponent is also going to be spamming out Hydro Cannon. We have now invested all our shields into Swampert. If the opponent does commit their last Protect Shield, Rodrigo did get a 1 mud shot head start, and the opponent is going to lose switch advantage. They do invest both their Protect Shields. Rodrigo now chooses to sack the Ninetales. I do like this play because we know Swampert is our best response for Marowak. Ninetales actually manages to tank that. They come in to a Skunk Tank, and Skunk Tank is ahead on energy. Rodrigo sends out his Typhlosion. The Incinerate should put this thing into Hydro Cannon range. Crunch near takes us out. We fire off one more Incinerate, but Skunk Tank does get the poison jab down. We come back out into Swampert. The GOAT is going to have to do GOAT things. We fire off the Hydro Cannon. It's night-night. Sleep tight, Skunk Tank. The Marowak is at full HP. Swampert is healthy. Rodrigo over farms. This Hydro Cannon is going to take care of the fake non-Shadow Swampert. Get fucking wrecked. Back out comes Alolan Marowak, a Pokemon someone else claims to be the GOAT, but you're about to see you, sir, are fucking not. And Shadow Swampert sweeps the entire team. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Noctowl in the lead. Immediate pivot into Ninetales, and again we are met with a Lantern. Please tell me we aren't going to go 2 for 2 on Solar Beams. Rodrigo shows no respect to the Surf. Are we going to see Deja Vu? We're at the beam, but does the opponent respect the damage? No, they don't. Holy shit, we are 2 for 2 on Beaming Lantern. Shout out my guy Rodrigo, who definitely is not baiting today. However, this Noctowl is going to be a bit of a problem. They've got a lot of residual energy. Sky Attack gets Swampert fairly low. We over farm. Rodrigo is going to have to start shielding. We're on minimal HP. We shield up the Sky Attack. We've almost got back-to-back Hydro Cannons locked and loaded. First Hydro Cannon being fired now. The opponent shields it up. Rodrigo continuing to overfarm, and now apparently we're throwing a Sludge Wave. What the heck is going on? The opponent does oblige with a shield. I think the back-to-back Hydros was actually the play, but I don't know, I'm just laughing. I can't even commentate at this stage. We shield up the Sky Attack. We are going to get outpaced to the charge move, but fuck it. We threw a Sludge Wave and a Solar Beam. We are going to get wrecked in this battle, but what a battle from Rodrigo nonetheless. We return fire with the Blast Burn, whatever the opponent's final Pokemon is. We are fucked. It's a Machamp, and 2 counters seal the deal. Moving on to the next one, we see another Medi in the lead. Let's see how Rodrigo plays this one. He goes straight for the Hydro Cannon. Let's see if he manages to make a great catch. Catch an Ice Punch on his Ninetales first Hydro Cannon. Does land, he does make the pivot, and again, the opponent doesn't throw. Holy crap, not another Lantern. I can't take this anymore. We already know Rodrigo isn't going to shield, but for the third time in the video, does the opponent respect the damage? Please land. Please land. Solar Beam goes. Oh, shielded. Boo, Mr. Opponent. What an absolute spoil sport. Rodrigo comes back in to his Swampert that isn't running Earthquake. So Lantern shielding is actually a big problem. We shield the Surf. Rodrigo is going to continue to overfarm. We fire off the Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is a nuke, but we don't get stabbed. Even the GOAT, Shadow Swampert, doesn't one-shot. Can we mud-shot farm them down before they make another charge move? We cannot. Rodrigo choosing to put it all on a Typhlosion closer. We get sniped with Metachan, in comes Typhlosion. The opponent has a boatload of energy. Rodrigo is going to respect a potential Psychic, and the absolute savage bait us with an Ice Punch after shielding our beam. Things are looking somewhat problematic. The opponent now fires the Psychic. Typhlosion then gets countered down, and that is a heartbreaking loss. Moving on to the next one. We catch the Bear Trap in the lead. The opponent switches out into Pelipper. Rodrigo going straight for the Hail Mary. Sludge Wave goes unshielded. The toilet gets absolutely flushed out of existence, and the opponent concedes the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see another pesky spider in the lead. This time it's Ariados. Ariados can hit us for big damage with Mega Horn. If they're running it, we are calling just a lunge, and lunge doesn't do a whole great deal of damage. We look to catch the second lunge on our Ninetales and enter the arena Azumarill. You already know there's no baiting. Can we see the big beam land on the Azumarill? Oh, we cannot. It looks like people are getting wise, but shout out Rodrigo throwing them Hail Marys. The opponent fires off a charge move. It's just a play rough. We aren't going to be able to make one more solar beam, so we are going to look to chip this Azumarill with a Weather Ball. Weather Ball puts this thing into Sludge Wave range. We've got the Sludge Wave locked and loaded. We're going straight for it. Sludge Wave draws another shield. Holy crap. A very questionable play there from the opponent that actually now all shields down. Rodrigo commits his first Protect Shield on a play rough. We reach the next Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is going to take care of this silly little fairy. Get wrecked Azumarill. We're now spamming out Typhlosion. Typhlosion has a really dominant matchup against Ariados. The opponent fires off immediately. They fire for lunge. Typhlosion tanks it on the chin, and the opponent's final Pokemon is Sableye. We are debuffed and running out of HP. Rodrigo commits his final Protect Shield. He is now going to return fire with the Blast Burn, but is Blast Burn enough to knock out? No, it's not. Can we survive the Shadow Claws? Yes, we can. We have the Blast Burn locked and loaded, and Typhlosion is going to sweep this game. GG's, and thanks for playing. Another very impressive dub. Moving on to the next battle, we see Defense Deoxys in the lead. A pretty tricky Pokemon for this team, as it is super bulky and has access to Rock Slide that neither of our fire types want to take. So Rodrigo starts spamming out Hydro Cannons. The opponent goes straight away for a Psycho Boost. Rodrigo commits his first Protect Shield. The opponent now pivots into Trevenant, and Trevenant, you sir, are going to be met with Ninetales. Trevenant fires the Shadow Ball. Ninetales holds strong. We've got the Weather Ball locked and loaded. This should be getting a Protect Shield off the opponent, but the unfortunate thing is we are going to get farmed down. The opponent does farm us down. We are in the 1-to-1 shield, and we are sitting in a bit of a tricky spot. Rodrigo comes in to his Typhlosion. We're not going to be able to incinerate farm down before the next Shadow Ball. The opponent is only making one move, so they aren't going to bait. We correctly shield up the Shadow Ball. What is the opponent's final Pokemon? It's Metachan. ABA Psychic and Trevenant in the middle. What, sir, do you do against Sableye? But fuck it, what do I know? The opponent commits the final Protect Shield onto Metachan. We fire off the Blast Burn. The opponent catches it on Deoxys. Deoxys gets absolutely wrecked. Back out comes the Metachan. They're on Power Up Punch, and we are in huge trouble. Rodrigo fires off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon isn't going to knock out. The opponent can probably throw whatever they want. Let's see what they throw. Hopefully it is another Power Up Punch, because we probably would survive. The opponent smartly Psychics, and the 5-turn Incinerate isn't going to register, and we lose a heartbreaking game. Moving on to the next one. We see the super bulky Umbreon with its 6 million HP in the lead. We pivot into Ninetales, and it looks like the opponent doesn't have a great response for fire, so maybe Typhlosion is looking good in the end game. They fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play goes unshielded. Rodrigo farming up towards the beam. I reckon he's probably going to beam. Is beam the way to go? Probably not, but fuck it. Why not YOLO the beam? Rodrigo does go straight for the beam. How much does this do to Umbreon? Pretty respectable amount of damage. We do get snarled down, which isn't great. They have residual energy. Good to go. Rodrigo committing no shield. We are going to have to throw a charge move or get hit with another. Rodrigo needs to fire. He does not. It looks like he is going to choose to commit one shield and mud shot it all the way down. Shadow Swampert at 100 energy is always deadly. We do get the mud shot farm down just about. The opponent sends out Trevenant, and Rodrigo going straight for the Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave goes unshielded. He looks to snipe with Typhlosion. We get the snipe. The opponent is probably thinking, what the heck is going on? Rodrigo now getting ahead on energy on his Typhlosion. He is going to shield up. Whatever the opponent throws, they bait us with a power-up punch. The opponent is trying to play their way out of a tricky spot. We fire off the first blast burn. That draws a shield from the opponent. This second blast burn should be drawing the final shield, and we should be able to hydro cannon them to death, and the opponent just concedes. Wow, what an incredible game. Moving on to the next one, we see Wallface in the lead. The opponent pivots into defense Deoxys, and we really need to maintain some alignment here, as we really don't want to take super effective smackdown damage on Typhlosion. Rodrigo commits a protect shield. The opponent is running Thunderbolt, so I am guessing their second move is going to be Psycho Boost. Rodrigo builds up to what could be an overheat, and he throws the Weather Ball. Deoxys doesn't shield. This should just be a Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost isn't going to KO, but Rodrigo really needs to maintain alignment. I imagine the opponent probably is going to shield and counter down, but the opponent lets it go. Holy smokes, we do get the farm down. One smackdown takes care of Ninetales. Back out comes Swampert, and it is knocked out in the back. 2 shield and knocked out is going to be a big problem. Knocked out outpaces to the charge move. Rodrigo saving his shield. For Swampert, we tank the Sky Attack not particularly well. We fire off the Blast Burn. Blast Burn should be getting the first shield off the opponent. We are going to get Wing Attack farmed all the way down. Can the GOAT sweep this team? It is an uphill challenge. They're already at the next charge move. Rodrigo commits a shield. Swampert continuing to overfarm. We're going to need to land 2 Hydro Cannons on knockdown. They're already at the next charge move. This is going to get Swampert super low. We're now deep in the red. The opponent sends out Bastiodon. If we had Earthquake, we might be able to do something here, but Hydro Cannon isn't going to do nearly enough damage. Rodrigo needs to hit this next Hydro Cannon under charge to a stage where we leave with the back-to-back charge moves, but he actually just chooses to take it out, and we are going to get Wing Attack farmed down. The opponent still has a Protect Shield. We fire off the last second Hydro Cannon. The opponent shields it up, and that is all she wrote. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the Shadow Swampert into Hypno. We immediately pivot into Ninetales. The opponent is staying in. It looks like they are firing off an Elemental Punch. It's most likely a Thunder Punch. Ninetales doesn't need to shield. It is a Thunder Punch. We are getting super low. We go straight for the Solar Beam. I've got no idea if Solar Beam is going to one-shot Hypno. From here, who was worried? Ninetales nukes yet another Pokemon, and the opponent comes in to Drapion. They do get a very nice Poison Sting farm down, which isn't fantastic. But Swampert still has a pretty dominant matchup here. The opponent now brings in Tangrowth. Holy shit, we are switch locked. Rodrigo not baiting, even though we're getting wrecked from Vine Whips. We reach for the Sludge Wave. Does the opponent respect it? Yes, they do, and it's actually a Shadow Tangrowth. Shout out to this opponent also running a triple Shadow team. Tangrowth has access to Rock Slide. We shield up the first. The opponent fires immediately. That Incinerate is going to take care of Tangrowth. Hopefully the Drapion isn't running Aqua Tail. They come out, they throw immediately. They should have thrown 2 Poison Stings. They fire for Crunch, and that is going to cost them. So, Mr. Opponent, what you should have done is throw your 2 Poison Stings, as Typhlosion is always going to get that move through. We're at the back-to-back, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next one, we see Mantine in the lead. A real core breaker for this team. The opponent aggressively switches in a Victory Bell. Rodrigo responds by sending out his Ninetales. Ninetales can let this move go and Fire Spin all the way down. And you already know what's coming. Send out that Mantine. Show me that Mantine. Rodrigo throws one more Fire Spin. He's at the beam. Does the opponent respect the grass type coverage? They do not. And that is how you get rid of this common threat. You love to see it. The Mantine is now deep in the red. As the opponent aggressively brought in Vic, I am worried that could be another Razor Leafer in the back. Rodrigo sends out his Typhlosion. They fire off the Ice Beam. Ice Beam does some chip damage, and it's actually a Drapion in the back. We are already at the Blast Burn. Blast Burn will definitely be forcing a shield from the opponent. We now pivot into Swampert. This is a regular Drapion by the looks of it. It's really hard to tell actually because of all the smoke from our own Swampert. It is a regular, so Crunch isn't that threatening. Swampert at the Hydro Cannon. The opponent chooses to let it go. We Mud Shot, farm them down, back out. Comes the Mantine. Swampert makes one more Hydro Cannon. The opponent is going to be forced to start shielding, or they're just going to be fucked. The opponent chooses to let it go, and we managed to beat a real core breaker for the team. GG's to Rodrigo. We see the Bear Trap in the lead. This opponent is staying in, so I imagine they're going to switch on 5. Me and Rodrigo read this basic bitch like a book. They send out Azumarill, but does the opponent respect the Sludge Wave? They do not. Holy smokes, Azumarill gets absolutely nuked. Rodrigo then makes a great catch, catching a potential play rough On his Ninetales, either way, Play Rough and Ice Beam are resisted. We look to go for the Fire Spin, farm down. The opponent makes one more Ice Beam. Ninetales will survive. This is actually pretty good as we leave no farm for Stunfisk. Rodrigo has the back-to-back Weather Balls, but fuck it. You already know he's YOLO in the beam. The opponent shields it up. Ouch. I really wanted to see how much damage a neutral Solar Beam did to the Bear Trap. Unfortunately, we don't find out. Back out comes Swampert. We're already at the Hydro Cannon. Does the opponent want to commit their final Protect Shield? No, they don't. They go down. And it's Metachan in the back. This game is looking absolutely over. Swampert spamming out yet another Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon draws the final shield from the opponent. Oh, God. I can see it coming. And if you've watched the video to this stage, you must know what's coming. We shield up the Psychic. Rodrigo has the Blast Burn locked and loaded, but why not YOLO the beam? Hi Metachan, bye Metachan. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle. Ouch. Altaria is another huge core breaker for the team. Ironically, Swampert with Sludge Wave is the only move that can hit for anything other than resisted. We go straight for the Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave gets Altaria down into the yellow. We are going to invest the Protect Shield on the Sky Attack. I imagine we're going to pivot out into Ninetales at some stage, and that is what Rodrigo does choose to do. Altaria, though, has a pretty dominant matchup here. They fire off the Sky Attack. Ninetales now in the yellow. Altaria has potential to run through this entire team. We spam out a resisted Weather Ball. Weather Ball doesn't knock out. We're not going to be able to Fire Spin. Farm down, but Altaria doesn't throw. We're at Weather Ball. Number 2, does Altaria give up a shield? Yes, they do. They do manage to Dragon Breath farm us all the way down. Holy smoke, Altaria absolutely going off. We send out Typhlosion. Typhlosion sneaks and Incinerate. We are going to invest our final Protect Shield. Hopefully they're weak to either Typhlosion or Swampert in the back. They send out the Bear Trap. Typhlosion outpaces to the Blast Burn. Blast Burn should be drawing the final shield from the opponent. Holy smokes, they let it go. Are you absolutely kidding me? They get one shot. They send out Scrafty. Scrafty surely has to invest the final Protect Shield on the Blast Burn, which they do. Scrafty fires a charge move. It's going to need to be a foul play to take us out. They smartly do foul play. Out comes Swampert. Can we reach the back-to-back Hydro Cannons? I think we're one counter short. This first Hydro Cannon is going to get them super low. Do we make the next? No, we don't. We fall one mud shot short and Scrafty manages to sweep. But holy smokes, that was a really close game considering we led into Altaria. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the Suto brothers. It's the real Mud Boy versus the fake Mud Boy. The opponent goes for a Weather Ball. Swampert tanks it. Not all that great. And Rodrigo, for the first time in the video, is firing off a bait. Rodrigo, you disappoint me. However, the opponent does shield it up. Well, sometimes you got to bait. Never bait, often, sometimes. Always remember that. Rodrigo now looking to outpace to the Sludge Wave. Does the opponent want to commit the final Protect Shield? Yes, they do. Politoed is going to outpace Swampert, so we are going to allow Swampert to go down. But holy smokes, how are we getting rid of this Shadow Politoed? Out comes Ninetales. This is just a Weather Ball, but Shadow Politoed is going to do quite a lot of damage. Fuck my life, a lot more damage than I was expecting. We aren't going to make the beam, so Rodrigo settles for some chip damage with a Weather Ball. Politoed does survive. Do they get the mud shot down? Yes, they do. Ouch, we're in danger. We're forced to commit our final Protect Shield. We've seen how much a Weather Ball did to the bulkier Ninetales. Incinerate does take him out and they send out a Walrus. Is this another triple Shadow team? The opponent doesn't even go for the Earthquake. We tank the Icicle Sphere. We're now down in the yellow. Typhlosion sends out the Blast Burn. Blast Burn one-shots the Walrus. What is the final Pokemon? Holy smokes, it's Meganium. Hi Meganium, bye Meganium. GG's and thanks for playing. Shout out that opponent also running a triple Shadow team. Moving on into the next battle, we see Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen did get nerfed that season. It's now pretty uncommon. The opponent sends out Metachan and we answer with Ninetales. The opponent throws a power-up punch and Rodrigo showed no respect. He is now going to start unloading Weather Ball after Weather Ball. The first Weather Ball draws a shield from the opponent. We're at Weather Ball number 2. It looks like a charge move priority, so hopefully Metachan is dumping its energy, which it is. This is going to be another power-up punch. There's no point in shielding up Ninetales, which is just going to get countered all the way down. The power-up punch doesn't care. They get one more counter in. Here comes Typhlosion. Typhlosion getting wrecked by counter. Holy crap. The opponent throws at poor timing though. They go for the Psychic. We get the Incinerate farm down. Back out comes Nidoqueen. We throw one more Incinerate. and the blast burn. The opponent probably is going to let it go. As we've got Swampert, they get one shot, and it is Umbreon in the back. Swampert versus Umbreon is pretty neutral. We've got Typhlosion as a sack swap as well. The opponent throws a foul play. Rodrigo returns fire with a Hydro Cannon. Not the best timing. He should have just thrown one Mud Shot and the charge move, because he would have only given one free turn. His timing actually gave the opponent 2 free turns, but it is what it is. We commit a shield on the foul play. Rodrigo then throws at the correct timing. This next Hydro Cannon should be drawing the final Protect shield from the opponent. Can we outpace to the back-to-back Hydro Cannons? Next Hydro Cannon is going to get Umbreon fairly low. It's going to be a race. We look to sack. Do we sack? We do not, but Umbreon does throw. I don't think that at back-to-back. Foul play takes care of Typhlosion. We're one Mud Shot away, and Swampert cleans up a very, very close game. GG's, and thanks for playing. Wow, so those were the battles from my good friend Rodrigo, one of the nicest people I've met in the community. Huge shout out to Rodrigo. He said, you like to throw nukes only. He said, I can do that as well. He said, these battles are not going to disappoint, and to be honest, I've never seen so many random solar beams thrown in my life. So huge thank you for the battle submission. If you also like your battles featured on the channel, go check out my community tab where you can see how to send them across to me. So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed that fire shoutcast, smash that like button. It really helps me reach a wider audience on YouTube. I'd just like to say thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.